Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Art Studio of Eli Hansen. On camera today we're doing a do-it-yourself series, and right now we're working on screens, renovating this old camper. I've already done about 4 of them, and there's 2 left to do, so I figure if I really screw up on this one, I have a backup plan and I can always retake the video. The hardest part of taking the screens out and replacing them so far has been taking the frame that the screen is in off of the wall. The really old screws in here, and some of them just will not come out. I've had to drill out a couple of them. One I couldn't even drill out. I had to tear the frame off the wall and then straighten the frame out. It was not a good deal. So I'm not even going to show you this part. I'm going to take the screws off by whatever means I have to, and then I'll show you how I put the new screen back in. Alright, there's the last of the screws. And the frame comes off the wall. Now I just have to take the shop vac, vacuum up all the mess that was dumped out of the frame, and take a rag and wipe out the window frame. There's some mud dauber nests and paper wasp nests that I'll want to clean out. And I'll replace the screen in this frame. Alright, here's the frame. As you can see, the hole's down here at the bottom. So I just grab hold of the spline that was not attached, pull it out of the groove all the way along, and once you pull it out of the groove, you can easily get the screen out. Alright, here's the tools that you're going to need. I've got a roll of screen. I've got a screen tool with 2 ends, one that has a channel in it and one that's rolled just like a pizza cutter. I've got some spline here of the correct diameter for my frame. The spline comes in different diameters. This is 0.14, larger is 0.16, it goes down to like 0.125. The easiest way to get the correct diameter spline is to take the old spline from your frame to the hardware store and match diameters. And I've also got a cutting tool. It'd be easier to use a stout shears than these huge tin snips, but I haven't got a shear, so this is what I'm using. First step is, gotta lay this out over your frame. And it was on a roll, so it's going to tend to roll itself. Not a big deal, but if you need to flatten it out, if it was towards the end of the roll and it was rolled too tight to work with, what you can do is take it against a straight, flat surface and kind of rub it back and forth against the curve. So on this, I'd take it against the wall here and rub it back and forth. This is I was curling bows to put on Christmas presents. That's how you curl ribbon, by the way. Ooh, don't want to cut it against that. Alright, that should flatten it enough for me to work with it. Lay it down here. Says to leave, the directions say to leave an inch of overlap all ways. If you're inclined to save screen, one thing you can do is just to cut it while it's on the roll. I'll actually do that quick. Who cares about cutting the thing first? The directions also say to cut the corners at a 45-degree angle so that they meet at the corner of these grooves here. I don't do that. After doing a couple screens that way, it's just really a waste of time. It's supposed to make a cleaner cut corner, but I can lay the spline in the groove just fine without it, and if I cut it, then I have to worry about lining up the corners, so it's just easier to do it this way. Lay it flat. I tend to hold it with my foot. Run the tool in the groove to crimp the screen. If you press too hard, you will cut the screen, so be careful. Don't ask me how I learned that important lesson. Let's just say I learned it the hard way. Then you take your spline, get it right down in the corner. I'll press it in with my fingers, and then I take the end of the spline tool that has a groove in it, in the wheel, and start pushing it in. It's also possible to cut the screen while you're doing this. You got to be careful to stay on the spline and not to run off onto the screen itself. Easy as anything, right? Easy as pie. Alright. Then I'll turn it. Make sure that the screen lines up, and I'm going to have enough for all the sides. And I'll go ahead and do the next side. Okay, we're on the third side, so now it's going to start pulling across from the first side that we did. And, you know, you try and get it to pull tight, but really the action of lining it up in this groove and laying the spline in will pull it tight for you. I just kind of laid across there, ran the groove. Now I'll push the spline in and it's going to be just fine. Okay, fourth and final side. Whoops. Okay, I've got spline in all four sides. I'll cut it where they meet. Very nice. Next I'll come along with a box knife or with these shears and I'll cut off all four sides of the excess screen. The shears is what I've got with me. Actually a knife would work better. As I go, I'm going to tap the corners back in, make sure they're in solid. You want to make sure you've got the spline in the groove all the way along before you put the frame back on the window. I learned that one the hard way too. And I'll just continue doing that all the way along the screen. Alright, just a few quick tips here before I wrap up this video. My screen and I are here to remind you that this is produced by Eli Hansen Art, featuring Eli as the prime producer and narrator, and also featuring the screen as a sidekick. And if you'd like to check out more, you can find it on elihansenart.com. Another quick tip, if you're having trouble rolling the spline into the groove with your screen tool, you can always make sure that the spline is laid in the groove with the lines that are on the spline all neatly in a row so that the tool rides on the track. If you look at a roll of spline, you'll see those lines and you'll know what I mean. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative and perhaps slightly entertaining, and if you feel inclined to give it a like and a subscribe, by all means do so. Check you out in the next video.